welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast on the Most Excellent Podcast Network. It's the podcast that has it all. Gaslighting, kidnapping, Stockholm Syndrome, slavery, miniature golf.
I have to say, this is the most hilarious slavery movie I've ever seen.
Isn't it? It really makes slavery cute. And also a filmmaker and a comedian who are just going to jump right into the choppy waters of our favorite movies from the decade of movies we love most.
Which we revisit with adult eyes.
Yes. This is episode 12?
Question mark?
We watched Overboard from 1987.
Caviar should be round and hard, and it should burst in your mouth at precisely the right moment.
For Mrs. Grant Staten III, life was a cruise. Until the night, she went for a swim. Her mother is in shock.
Only one for breakfast.
Her husband is in mourning.
I love L.A. Seems a mystery woman was picked up by the Elk Cove garbage scout.
And a local handyman in a lot of trouble.
Your children are totally lacking in parental supervision.
Hey, you don't have to tell me these kids are lucky.
Has just found a way out.
She seems to be suffering from amnesia.
Of course I know my name. It's...
Yeah, that's my little cookie cutter.
This missing link person is not my husband.
Well, he seems to like you, and he's a nice guy. Come to Daddy.
Gee, Mom, we're so glad you're back. Hi, Mom.
What is it I normally do?
I prepared and handled raw food.
I was short and fat.
You walked kind of hunched over, you know?
We did it on the first date.
Couldn't call it a date, really. We stayed right there in the parking lot at 7-Eleven.
And the short, fat sleeves.
Is this Joanna Staten?
Are you going to bring me my lemon or do I have to squeeze it from my hat?
Is this Joanna Staten? Goldie Hawn.
I'm Joanna Staten.
Baby doll, what's for dinner?
Kurt Russell.
What? No boom boom?
Sugar lips.
Overboard.
Thank you for making me a wife and a mother. Why did you do that?
Holy cow.
So some movies, there's like an elephant in the room. You revisit them and they kind of frame something a little weird or just not appropriate to today's culture and society. This is more of an elephant ride.
It's a whole herd of elephants.
It was, this movie, I feel it wears it on its sleeve and it uses it for comedy. It's like, there's nothing else to really just say. I think it was probably just as weird and on PC back then too,
Perhaps.
With sort of,
But I think it's one of those things where it was just it was pretty much considered cute.
Right.
To
wink, wink, this is terrible, wink, wink.
But isn't it so romantic?
Right.
That he is kidnapping her. It's that sort of, a lot of other movies in the 80s romanticize things like stalking and, it's so
deceit,
cute. Yeah. He loves her so much he's willing to completely mentally abuse her, not that we'll jump right in.
Right.
I'm Chrissy Lenz. I am the director at National Comedy Theater. I am this podcast's resident comedian.
And I'm Nathan Blackwell. I'm a filmmaker who has a podcast about movies.
And what's your viewing experience with Overboard?
So, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn are just 100% charming.
Aren't they the best?
They are. Like, I mean,
I'm sort of obsessed with both of them.
Yeah. I'm definitely obsessed with Kurt Russell. Being kind of I don't know what a fan of Kurt Russell is. A mullet head.
Oh my God! Yes.
So did you write did you write a haiku to Kurt Russell's mullet?
I did not get a chance to, so I'm just going to improvise one.
Okay, great.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Kurt Russell's mullet. It does not know gravity. He is a monster.
Yeah, it's so. There's so much charm and so much fun that both these guys, and it's obviously a project that they, being a couple, created or were signed on to do together, so they could make a movie. Is this the only movie that they've done together?
Is it?
I don't know.
That doesn't seem like it should be, but maybe it is.
Yeah. So Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn. If you don't know, they're a lifelong couple. I don't think they've ever officially been married, but they've been together for like 30, 40 years or something.
Yeah, and they were like the original Brad and Angelina, right? Who they were like, oh, we don't need to get married. We don't need to put labels on it. Because they had both been married before. Okay, this looks like they're in a movie called Swing Shift together.
Okay.
Oh, yes, they are. And they're very cute in it. He doesn't have a mullet. He has like short.
Okay, I'm not going to see it.
And that was 1984, so perhaps that's where they met.
No, they met much earlier.
They're also in a movie called The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band.
That's probably where they met.
In 1968.
Yeah.
Okay. But they both had other spouses.
Yeah.
Because Kate Hudson and the other guy are not. That's why their name is Hudson, not Russell.
Right. Ernie Hudson. No, I don't know. That's the only Hudson I can think of.
For a second, I was like, that can't be. But yeah, they're. I love them both as individuals, and we talked about Escape from New York, so that's sort of like the other genre of Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
this is romantic comedy Kurt Russell, and I love them both individually because Goldie Hawn is so amazing. She's so funny. She's such a good comedic
She's
performer.
so in charge of this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she plays at both ends of the spectrum so differently and so convincingly that you just, even when she's being a stone cold bitch, you're just like, I want to be best friends with this woman.
In her superhero outfit. With like a cape.
Oh my God. Her outfits, just watch this movie alone for her outfits. Like, she wears 100 bathing suits. That's like all she wears. That's yacht life, I guess. But they're all like that 80s cut that's basically up to your rib cage. Like the leg holes go up to your boobs, and it's like a thong, basically.
Yeah,
but
body thong.
One of the ones she wears is like completely sheer on the back, and then she's got all these different capes and robes and hats.
Yeah, like an enormous, like epaulets, gold tassels,
as though she's the captain.
Yeah, exactly. And then it has a cape.
Yes, and it's so good. But did you see the movie that she did with Amy Schumer, Snatched?
No.
It's cute. I liked it.
Uh-huh.
And I heard, her comedic chops are still 100% intact because she has the ability to be
she's
both sweet and bitchy at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's sort of a naive brilliance, but also you can tell.
Yeah, it's funny because
that she's very sharp.
We're at the age where we know her from stuff like this, and we don't know her from the stuff she did before this,
like Laugh-In,
which was like Laugh-In, where she was just kind of like bubbly and light. We know her more as kind of like, the character that she's playing here in Overboard. A little more sharp, a little more, quote unquote bitchy, but yet likable. It's different
than just being like
her first
dumb
persona
blonde
that she had to kind of fight. Like when she was in Spielberg's first feature, The Sugarland Express, they were like, you can't cast her. She's just like this light comedian. She can't play this dramatic role, and we know her more as this kind of second persona.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is definitely a family favorite
Yeah.
of my family, and so that's why I'm always like making excuses for it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the point of this podcast is that we're looking at movies that we saw, we loved with new eyes, and sometimes we realize that they're kind of terrible, and sometimes we realize I don't care how this looks, I still love it. I'm going to defend it. You know.
Yeah, and I will defend everything except for there's one little piece of the puzzle that I want to wait till we get to it that I will not defend, that I will be like, no. And I hope that the updated version will address some of these things.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there is a remake with Anna Faris and some dude from How to Be a Latin Lover. How to Be a Latin Gigolo? What's the movie he's from?
His name is Eugenio Derbez. Eugenio. What a name. That's like a sexy name. And he is, How to Be a Latin Lover. Instructions Not Included. Lots of movies.
So it's a successful actor. I just haven't seen him in anything.
Yeah, he hasn't been in a lot of big things. Well, he's a Mexican actor, so he's crossing over at this point.
He is the Jackie Chan of Mexican comedians.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That sounds good to me. So we're going to kind of walk through this chronologically. Yeah. So the start of the movie.
We'll take it from her superhero outfit.
Yeah.
Goldie Hawn's outfit.
They're stopped in a place in Oregon on her yacht. I guess she just like basically lives on her yacht with her husband, who is
played by Edward Herrmann from Gilmore Girls.
And isn't he also the dad or the teacher? He's in The Lost Boys. He's the head vampire.
Is he?
Isn't he?
I haven't seen that movie.
Let's just say yes and not look it up. Okay. But so she lives on this yacht. They're stopped in Oregon. She needs something to do, so she hires a carpenter, Kurt Russell, in a tank top, permanent tank top, mullet on fleek. It's so high up. It's so far away from the sides of his face. I don't know how he spends a lot of time with the blow dryer in the morning.
Yeah. His blow dryer kung fu is so sharp at this point.
It's so good.
Like, if I started now, if I went that direction, I'd really be starting from scratch. It would take me a good decade to get at this point.
And you know what? I don't think they make blow dryers like they used to. Like, I think that he was using the kind of blow dryers that ran on, like, gasoline and just, like, destroyed the environment. And I bet he had his own hair person that he took with him wherever he went. Just someone who could get that just right. That thing that 80s mullets do that is just so of its time and brilliant. And here's something else. He totally has a dad bod. Like, he is rocking sleeveless, he's rocking shirtless, he's rocking tank tops throughout this movie. And he is not cut. He is not chiseled. Like, by today's standards, he's schlumpy.
Yeah. So we talk about, like, the standards that women have of beauty. Like, today, like, the need to be cut and ripped or whatever the things are, like, whatever is furthest from whatever I am, like, those standards are so high. Like, I feel so bad for, like, Chris Hemsworth for every Thor movie. In the latest Avengers movie, he was wearing a shirt for the whole thing. There was not a shirtless scene. Because I just can't imagine the pressure there is to be that cut. Like, it's ridiculous.
They do lovingly caress his biceps and declare him to be a pirate angel.
Yeah, so we got that in.
But no, you're right. Like, dudes in movies in 2018 have to be so jacked.
Yes, that's the word, jacked.
But you look back at, like, this was the height of Kurt Russell just being sexy. Same with, like, Die Hard. If you look at Bruce Willis in Die Hard, it's like he's not jacked. He's very soft and human looking.
But way better looking than me. There was still a standard.
But it was like he barely even has pecs. Like, he's just kind of a guy who's like, look at me without my shirt on.
Yeah.
And it makes
Like,
2018 people go, but why? What are you offering me?
Fun fact. So, like in the Big Trouble in Little China poster, he's pretty muscular.
He's
in
got
that
the gun
poster.
show.
Yeah, but that's not his body. It's Drew Struzan's body. He painted himself. He got a photo of himself, and he was that jacked.
What?
Yeah, and then he just put Kurt Russell's head on there. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay, well, there's something that is different from them to now. But so Kurt Russell builds her this really cool closet where you like turn a crank and the shoes like split and go into the back.
Which, as a kid, I go, oh yeah, he nailed it. That's awesome. And,
That's a genius closet.
And now I look, and it's like, it's pretty gimmicky.
Yeah. But because it's made of pine and not cedar.
Oak. It was made out of oak.
Oak. Right. What am I thinking? Who makes anything out of pine? No one.
Jeez.
She fires him, refuses to pay him, and throws all of his tools overboard.
Oh, yep.
We have a title.
She drew first blood.
And yeah, she throws his tools overboard, which is
expensive.
Expensive.
Yeah. Guys, that was rough.
Yeah. And he like refuses basically to pay him for his work. Cut to, she's still just like chilling on her boat. Mm-hmm. And
she's spoiled, but she is obviously unhappy with her
Yeah.
life. That's what the movie's telling us.
And she has like a board with her. She has, of course, the yacht crew, but her, I guess, butler
Yeah, Roddy McDowell
is the butler, and he's very sweet. But he really he paints her toes, and he waits on her basically hand and foot. There's that moment in the trailer that we saw, which there's a lot of like sexual innuendo that completely like sailed over my head. Entire...
There's so much that sails over your head for this kind of movie as a kid, because you totally buy into the elephant ride, the fun part of it. You know, like you kind of give up the conceit that it's terrible, because movies are all fantastic. There's like nothing really applicable to your real life. They're all this is just as realistic as the Three Amigos. You know,
Absolutely.
they're completely
and
fantasy.
I had no idea, like, you know, as a kid in the 80s, like, I don't know if your mom ever watched Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
No, but it would be on TV every once in a while, and you're like, what is this?
What is this? But it, like, Champagne Wishes and Caviar Dreams, right? Caviar was, there's a moment in Big, too, of the caviar eating where that was somehow the pinnacle.
Oh, yeah. There's all these kind of cultural points to where things represent, like, richness and lifestyle, and then it was caviar.
Yeah, and don't you think that's weird?
Yeah. It's
like, why would a single food item be...
Well, it was kind of like Grey Poupon, you know, which is...
But also, like, yeah, Grey Poupon was so elevated in the 80s and 90s. It's just so hard in 2018 to think of an item of food or something. I guess maybe like kale salad, like something where you're like, oh, this is the thing.
Well, it's different now. It's like the thing to aspire to is kind of like, you know...
Only drinking smoothies.
Yeah, exactly. Removing toxins from your body if you don't have a kidney or liver.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. No, I guess I would compare it to that. It's like the fanciest people now are all about detoxing or whatever.
Right.
This is sort of that. But she like describes the caviar bursting in your mouth and all that stuff. Like that's where she's at in terms of being a fancy lady. She goes to fetch her diamond ear. Also, she does not love her husband. She's always faking her period so that he won't come near her.
Yeah.
Which is also a very 80s conceit.
And he's as a spoiled, isolated, rich dude, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's so good. He completely leans into the detached element of not really knowing how normal people work and just doing his own weird thing.
Yeah, he's like on the acting scale of these movies. Like, he's more towards the James Spader and Mannequin end of the spectrum.
Total character actor leaning in so hard, totally just playing.
And becomes cartoonish at the end.
Absolutely.
I love it. So she goes overboard and gets another 80s thing, amnesia. And she is such a dick to the people at the hospital. And just everyone she encounters, she treats them like they are lowly. How would you describe it?
Oh, yeah, servants.
Yeah. Well, okay. You really
Pesky
summed it up there
servants.
in one word.
Yeah.
They put her in a locked psych ward. Oh, and so one of the guys who plays is he the police officer? He was the host of Family Feud for my entire childhood.
Yeah, the police officer.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, Family Feud, there he is.
And again, the movie plays it so that she is so annoying that there is just so little that Kurt Russell has to do for them to get rid of her. They're like, yeah, he seems nice. Why don't you leave?
He's not dripping with blood. He didn't bring a chainsaw. Like, why wouldn't we just give you away to this man?
And it does make it fun.
And I'm interested to see in the updated version how they will explain, because he sort of brings, what does he bring? He brings her underpants. No, they give him her underpants.
Right. All he does to prove is that when he was, is to point out a birthmark.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So when he was, creating the cabinet, he was ogling when she was wearing that crazy sheer bathing suit. He saw her birthmark.
And he just spent a lot of time eating on that boat.
Well, you look at the food, it's not a lot of sustenance. It's just like a bunch of hors d'oeuvres. Like, it's like the kitchen is like, we got this left over. Like, it's not a meal.
It's not.
You're going to have to eat a lot of that stuff to get filled.
To maintain your Kurt Russell dad bod.
Yeah, and besides, he probably needs to take in like 2,500 calories a day.
Sure. An eighth of the Chris Hemsworth calorie budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just claims her. He takes her to his home where the gaslighting ensues because he gets all 4 of his children on board of trying to convince this woman.
Crazy feral animals.
Yes. And he's quite happy about it. He's like, he says to the teacher woman, like, you don't have to tell me that these kids are lucky. We're pals. It's not like a dad and child situation. It's 5 man children, living totally unorganized lives.
Yeah. So both characters in this movie really have a journey. She, has to. She was desperately unhappy beforehand and needed to have more of a quote real life, and he was just a giant kid who wouldn't grow up.
Yeah, I guess I don't see necessarily that he ever changes, though, is the thing. Because I really wonder what his life was like with that first wife, the actual mother of the kids, because he treats her terribly in terms of, like, she's to cook and clean, he's to come home and then go out drinking with the boys. It's that very 50s man-woman roles. So, like, what was that first wife like? She was like Mrs. Draper. Who's the first Mrs. Draper?
Lady Draper. I don't know.
The good Draper wife.
Yeah.
What's her name? Let's forget I said anything about the Drapers. But I don't think he learns anything.
So I would disagree. I feel like he's pretty. So when he takes her into his life, he definitely wants her to kind of pay off this money that she owes him, and he kind of treats her as
a slave.
As a slave. But I also feel like he doesn't really know how to
do anything.
Adult.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to clean. He doesn't know how to keep a house. He doesn't know how to parent his children. And by her kind of pushing back when she feels too much like a slave, he kind of has to grow up, And by the end of the movie, when they're partners and they're working on the miniature golf course, which is his dream, she is kind of an equal partner at that point, and he learns that it is important by her. Like when her kids are getting chewed out at school for being feral, and she stands up for them. He gains respect for her, but he also understands that it is important to be, when he sees kind of the results of her actually stepping up and being a parent where he isn't, he kind of sees the benefit of that, like teaching the youngest kid doesn't know how to read, and she's teaching him how to read, you know, and then the other kids have no respect, and he thinks it's awesome, but when he sees the change that she kind of brings about, he kind of realizes the importance of having not a slave, but a partner.
Yes, and offering guidance, I think, to his kids.
Yeah. So I feel like they both are kind of stepping into the middle.
Towards the middle.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because he doesn't have any skills because obviously he had himself a mother and then a wife that took care of all those things for him.
Yeah.
And she's had servants all her life. We meet her mother, who is Mona from Who's the Boss.
Yes, she is awesome.
She's so great.
Yeah.
She wears evening dresses.
Catherine Hellmond. Right?
Oh,
Am I pronouncing that right? Kind
I'm
of
gonna say yes.
almost like doing a prequel of her character from Brazil. But yeah, she's amazing. She's definitely one of the standout performances.
She's like Lovey though, like she, you know, from Gilligan's Island. Like she's always wearing an evening gown. At one point, she's holding her Pomeranian who wears a crown, and this was before that was a thing. She calls the butler over and she goes, "I'm going to sit." He has to like gather her dress for her, and he goes, "Now, madam," and then she sits. That's
She's
one of
so
my
good.
favorite moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and she has no skills because she's been waiting on hand and foot her whole life. I get it. And I like you see where his home starts and where his home ends. Like, she cleans it, organizes it, and makes it a nice place that someone would want to live. And same with, like, her clothing. Like, they just buy her a bunch of Goodwill dresses, and they're little boys, so they have no idea what size or anything. There's a hilarious scene where she's in this really huge dress. He explains it by saying that she was very fat and had a hunch and she lost all the weight.
Right.
It's pretty brilliant the way he explains things away.
Yeah.
It's improv, people. Improv. I can teach you those skills at National Comedy Theater if you want to learn how to kidnap someone. No, delete this. Yeah, but she starts to dress herself too in the style of that more rustic woman, but still very like stylish and cool.
So for legal reasons, we can't say kidnap people and use these techniques. However, Kurt Russell constantly has to improv.
Explain,
he has to explain what's going on. Why aren't there pictures of me? And he says,
"We lost him in the move.
Yeah. Why don't these clothes fit me?
You used to weigh 300 pounds.
And you were hunched over."
Yeah.
You know, and then he eventually has to come up. If she's really kind of like writing the line, like, this isn't right. And then he has to come up with some photo evidence from, you know.
Which, that guy did a really good job. There's no, like, Photoshop in 1987. So how is he doing this?
Yeah, back in the day, that's what you had to do. You had to actually physically edit you had to draw and then also, like, collage the photos together and then photograph
Recopy
them.
it?
Yeah.
Well, good for the friend. The schlumpy friend.
Right. Mike Haggerty.
He really came through for old Kurt Russell. So the husband, meanwhile,
Yeah.
Grant Staten III, is playboying around.
Yeah. I love LA. It's just going nuts in those. How many like 80s
80s ladies?
80s ladies. I was going to say, how many like 80s sunglasses did we see in this movie?
Oh my god, they're so brilliant.
They're just, talked about jacked. These things are just like cranked all the way up to like 100. It's nuts.
They're brilliant. That's a drinking game rule, right? Watch
Yeah.
Overboard, and every time they're wearing insane sunglasses, you have to take a shot because when they're there, they're crazy. But yeah, he's got women on board. Tafudi, is that one of their names? And he's just like living it up. And he would never have gone back except for the mom keeps calling. Mona keeps calling.
It's interesting. It's like it's almost kind of like the different spectrum of where like Kurt Russell was. Like it's almost, they're both existing in like these boy man, bubbles.
But it's the rich boy man and the poor boy man?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good observation. Wait a guy, I never noticed that. So yeah, but it really proves too that the only person on earth who cares about Joanna is her mom. Mm-hmm. That's the only person who is looking for her or cares that she is disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah. I feel like the whole message of the movie is summed up by the wise butler, Roddy McDowall, is about looking at life from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's really what Goldie and Kurt Russell both have to kind of do.
Yeah.
And then the guy who doesn't do that is the husband.
So he has to eventually come to fetch her, and I love the way that scene is played. They open the miniature golf course, and everything's coming up
Kurt Russell's
Millhouse.
dream. So Kurt Russell, he's a carpenter. He can't get enough work, but he's still working. And secretly, he's going out at night, and we think he's just that's another thing. It's like, I'm going to go bowl with the boys, and he would just leave. And he's putting on this facade of like, no, you take care of the house. I'm just going to go out and drink. And what he's actually doing, however, is he's working a second shift, like moving manure
at a fertilizer plant.
Yeah, and so his secret dream is to design and build a miniature golf course.
Based on the wonders of the world.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like, what a time to be alive when you're just like, I have made a miniature golf course that is based on the 7 wonders of the world. And people in Elk Grove, Oregon are like, you don't say. What how do we get in? Like, take all my money. I've never heard of such magic.
I love the scene where he is trying to, like, his business plan are just a bunch of drawings, and it's a bunch of, like, rich dudes at a Red Lobster or, like, a Crab Shack, you know.
Which is probably the nicest place.
Have you ever been nervous in your life?
Yep. And I also like, too, that he's actually building the inside. It's like, you knock it into the mouth, and it comes out the ear, and everyone's like, mind blown. I've never seen this kind of miniature golf technology before. But it's really cute. And, like, this is the height of them as a couple. He tells her he loves her. I did, like, appreciate that he doesn't try to, like, sleep with her.
Yeah, he's not oozing with yuckiness on
that level.
Yeah, he takes the bed, she gets the couch, and when there's that flip in the relationship, he gives her the bed, and then he takes the couch. Yeah. And it's not until she's the one who finally kind of, when it's sexy time, she initiates sexy time. Yeah.
So I did appreciate that.
Yeah.
But they're in love at this point, and that's when Grant shows up. And I love how she just walks past him like, oh, hi, Grant. I just got to stick these flowers in some water. Like,
right.
And she just comes to all these realizations. She's happy to see Grant. She's happy to remember who she is. She's happy to remember that she's, like, she knows her name and she knows her history. And she's sharing that happiness with Kurt Russell. And then she's like, oh, no, wait.
Whoa.
Wait. There's that moment in the trailer, too. Like, thank you for making me a wife and a mother. Wait, just a minute.
Why did you do that?
You're that sweaty carpenter who hates me. She goes back to the boat, and now she's a fish out of water once again, but in her own world.
Yeah. She's no longer, it's like before the servants had to do everything. Now, when she's hungry, it's like, oh, I'll pick this up. And then, oh, are you hungry? I'll do you want some of this? It's like, why are you serving me?
Yeah, she's thinking of other people.
Yeah.
And they're like, I love the psychologist, too, that they bring on board.
He is awesome.
He reminds me of the air traffic controller from Airplane, because he has no tether to reality. He's just, like, completely doing his own thing, just bits. He's so funny. He's like, do you want to smoke? She's like, I don't smoke. She's like, well, of course we smoke. We all smoke. Let's all smoke.
Let's all smoke.
That's got to be the most 80s moment of the whole thing, right? Let's all just smoke. We'll work it out. Let's all just have a cigarette. She's doing shots with the crew.
Yeah. So that's when we learn, okay, it's almost kind of like a British thing. Is she's going the upstairs, downstairs. She's going downstairs to drink with the staff, and then that's where Roddy McDowall kind of gives his wise speech about seeing life from different perspectives.
And she apologizes to him, and they have a really nice moment. And meanwhile, the boys who they themselves have had a journey, they want her back.
Yeah, they didn't want a mom. They wanted to be feral animals. You know, they were looking at nudie magazines and destroying things and eating the worst kind of food, and now they're kind of cleaned up, and, you know, they're doing good at school, and they want a mom.
Yeah. They learned the value.
Of being housebroken. Yeah. What was that great line? It's like, I think they're housebroken. Don't they housebreak each other?
Oh, I love it. And the one gets a girlfriend, and they start dressing nice, and yeah, so they want her back, and they want to put together a plan to go save mom. And Kurt Russell sort of like, no, we got to let her go. That's where she belongs. It's like an Old Yeller moment almost, or not Old Yeller, because it's like a Harry and the Hendersons moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, can't you see I don't belong here anymore? Go back to your place.
Go to your people.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then he decides, nope, I am going to go rescue her.
Right.
No, well, not rescue her, but get her back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let her know we love her.
Mm-hmm. So they get the Coast Guard to chase down her yacht.
But
meanwhile, she spins her own boat around.
Yeah. And so it's like another thing. It's like, there's no way in reality that, like, the Coast Guard would help them, but they make the Coast Guard guys so quirky and goofy that it totally... You make it quirky and goofy and fun. Like, these guys are not your normal Coast Guard dudes, just like how at the beginning, like, the people who have her, it's like, you know, how do you deal with that script dilemma of, like, well, how is it realistic for them to just give her to some dude? Well, you make them weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's a great way to say it. Absolutely. Because there's that really cute Coast Guard guy who's like, man overboard.
Mm-hmm.
Woman overboard. She's wearing an evening dress. It's a hell of a day at sea.
Boy, Captain.
That part's great because she has turned her boat around. He's coming to get her. They both leap into the ocean to be together. Happy, happy, happy. And then we get the brilliant reveal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's like, I can't believe you would give up all that money just to be with us. She goes like, no, the money's mine. It's not his.
Yeah. Which I guess in 80s minds, it's like, but a woman can't own property. Surely not.
Or it's the 80s thing. It's like, oh my God, we're rich. That's the ultimate goal.
And they probably didn't have like a prenup situation, or maybe they did. I don't know, because like Grant Staten III is going to get half that boat, right? I don't know, but they do cut to then the kids like filling out their Christmas lists.
Yeah, which is cute.
How do you spell Porsche? It is cute. Rags to riches, I guess, something we were obsessed with as a collective culture in the 80s.
I wouldn't mind money today, though.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. Are we giving out money? I'll take some.
Right. I've seen a photo of it. It looks great.
Didn't it seem fun?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure I would spend it on caviar and boats.
Yeah, right. Not that we're on a high horse or anything.
No. I would take that money. I wouldn't spend it on
money would be so
bathing
great
suits.
right now.
So great.
I would definitely buy caviar at least once.
Just to see what all the fuss was about.
It's so salty.
Oh my God. Okay, so the only thing I think that I was left with as a question at the end of this most recent viewing, because I have seen this movie. This is a movie that I never stray too far from. I love to force people to watch this movie, as well as like the movie I'm going to force you to watch. That's coming up on a recent
so
episode.
you, just as Kurt Russell forced her, you force others to.
Yes. I'm like, you have to see this movie for so many reasons. For Kurt Russell, for Goldie Hawn, for the two of them together, for the absurdity of the plot, and how well it works.
And how well it
it
embraces it. You know, that's the thing. It doesn't stray away from the ridiculousness. It embraces it.
Nope, and I love it, and I love first describing it to someone.
It's funny. It's like we have this movie is so much more palatable than us than like maybe one or two small moments in Crocodile Dundee.
Yes. Oh, you're 100% correct. That is not wrong.
Which like in Crocodile Dundee, it's like maybe a screen time of 90 seconds.
Or all of Young Guns, which I thought I loved.
Right.
And I just couldn't deal with it. This I still love.
Yeah.
I stand by it. I recommend it. I give it 10 out of 10 things you throw overboard. What are those? What are those? What are those?
Oh, the life preservers?
Yeah, but isn't there a fun name for the ones that are round?
Lifesavers?
I think you're right. Isn't that why lifesavers are round? Okay, I give it 9 out of 10 lifesavers.
9 out of 10 overboards?
Yeah. I give it
Overboarding?
9 over 10 caviars.
Okay. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10, which is pretty darn high.
You're right. 8 is better. 8 is better.
Okay.
It's an 8. We agree.
It's so charming.
It's
It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's slow in some parts, but not as bad as some movies that are just paced a little differently from that era. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just charming.
The only thing the question I was left with is, what does she see in him? Like, in him as a man. Mm-hmm. What is he... I mean, I get what she sees. I mean, within. Like, what does he have to offer her as a man?
Well, the point that she really kind of turns around is on her birthday. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of being romantic. Mm-hmm. You know, when he's telling that story about those people in love, that old Spanish story of the sea.
Katerina and Arturo.
Right, which is what they yell out at each other.
Katerina, Arturo. The reason I know that is because in an improv scene, whenever I don't know what to name my partner, they're always Arturo. For this very reason. Yes.
Origin stories.
Yeah.
That's I don't know if there's like a specific aspect to him other than being like the first quote unquote real man that she's known.
Okay.
You know, because he's down to earth, but yet
so little romance to win her over, you know? I don't know. Yeah, that was my only thing is like, aside from the fact that I, as the viewer, am imbuing Kurt Russell with all of these qualities that his character, Dean Prophet, doesn't necessarily possess.
Right. Well, it's almost kind of the opposite, too, of like, what does he see in her? Mm-hmm. You know, other than being eventually someone who does challenge him, who is kind of a partner. Mm-hmm. But yet, what are the personality aspects of her that is appealing to him?
He eventually liked?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's not that opposites attract. It's almost kind of like what is the other side of you that you need to kind of fill in to make both of you as a whole is attractive. And I think that's what it is for both of them. Like, you know, you've got the more grounded, folksy Kurt Russell, and then you've got her, which is a little more sophisticated and yet challenging. Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree with you, and I think you hit the nail on the goddamn head.
Made out of oak.
Nicely done, Mr. Blackwell. Okay, well, all right. What is your deep cut recommendation?
So it's not super deep. I'm going to say, so if you
caviar.
Yeah, exactly. If you enjoyed this, then if you want to kind of continue the enjoyment, I would say watch Captain Ron.
Oh, yes.
Which is, it's almost like Overboard meets Snake Plissken.
That's
Escape
exactly
from
right.
New York. If you want to have more goofy Kurt Russell fun in the same vein as this, then watch Captain Ron.
Absolutely. Oh my God, now I'm thinking of Captain Ron, and it's just making me so happy. Captain Ron is a brilliant movie. Yeah. Okay.
Academy Award winning Captain Ron. I'll have to double check that. IMDb's occasionally wrong, but
yeah, because like Snake Plissken gets tired of everything and just decides to go live out in the Spanish Main, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's before Jack Sparrow, right? He's sort
right.
of Jack
that's
Sparrow
what,
before
we
Jack
said
Sparrow.
is the eye patch is the Kurt Russell eye patch trilogy is Escape from New York, Captain Ron, Escape from L.A.
Yeah. So recommend that whole trilogy, the whole thing. Recommend just Kurt Russell as a human being. Okay, that's perfect because you sort of took a Kurt Russell recommendation direction. I am taking a Goldie Hawn recommendation path, and I'm going to recommend yoga.
Okay.
I think that like Goldie Hawn is well known to be a practitioner of yoga, and I just recommend it because like, in many ways, yoga can just like enhance your life in general. So you should take a class, grab a video if you're not yet ready to go do yoga in front of other people. YouTube has a lot of really great yoga for beginners. And even if you never get into like the crazy stuff, which none of us real folk ever really will, some of the simpler moves even are so good for you physically and mentally. You should definitely,
especially if you got back problems, like if you're in a chair all day or using a computer.
And they have office chair yoga that you can do, but also just for stress, for anxiety, managing breathing techniques, all that stuff.
Cool.
I recommend yoga. So what are we watching next?
Ooh, okay. So we're trying something out. We're doing a double header of Stallone movies.
Yeah.
All right. The next movie is it Rocky IV?
It's Rambo.
Okay. The next movie is Rambo.
Yeah.
And after that, well, we'll keep it a secret what that movie is.
But you can guess. But please feel free and encouraged to guess what you think the next Sylvester Stallone movie is that we will choose. But I've never seen Rambo in any of its forms.
I saw this super young. This was one of my first rated R movies. I may have even seen it like the same day that I saw Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh
which
my
was
God.
my first
What a
rated
day
R
for you.
horror. Yeah, I know.
That you need
Nathan
to call,
grew up very quickly that day.
You need to call whoever that was, that friend, and be
Jeff
like,
Sanders.
thank you, and curse you at the
Right.
same time. I love it. I am increasingly concerned that I'm going to be that mom who like lets my children's friends come over, and I'm just like, what? It's not a big deal. They're watching Rambo. What is the big deal? By the way, it's worthwhile to point out that this movie is rated PG.
Overboard.
Yep, it's rated PG, and there are bad words left, right, and sideways, and front and back and center. So many bad words. Okay, shoot. What was the other thing? Oh, we're gonna take a moment. So this is the part of the podcast where we always say, like, thanks for listening. You can find Nathan at squishystudios.com. You can find me at nctphoenix.com. And we always say,
Rate, review, like us.
Review, thumbs up, all that stuff. So we want to give a shout out.
So we've got our very first iTunes review.
What? Yay!
And so if you guys do leave us a review on iTunes, we'll show our gratitude and read them online. Mm-hmm. Okay, so our very first review. Okay.
Oh, we've got two.
We've got two.
So you can do the first one and I'll do the second one.
Okay, we've got our very first iTunes review. And so to show our thanks, we are going to, if you leave us a review, we'll read them online. And so our first review comes from Bortis Pananas, and the review is, I like it.
5 stars. Thanks, Boris.
Thanks.
Oh, boy. Our other review is by PCF Chick, and the title of it is Woo! Up to 9 zeros. Not zeros. What are letter zeros?
Oh.
Yeah. Up to 9 O's.
Vowels.
Yes, vowels. And PCF Chick says, super fun podcast. The hosts, Chrissy and Nathan, are awesome, and their knowledge of these movies is just what the 80s fangirl in me needs. Stay excellent, folks.
Cool, thank you.
We will stay excellent.
So yeah, please leave us a review on iTunes, and then we'll read them on the show.
Or Stitcher, like wherever. If you're not an iTunes person.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I
You
don't
only
understand.
iTunes?
I don't get
you
those
only
people.
on iTunes? Okay. But yes, please do. We'll read it on the air, and we thank you so much. And all that stuff is so very helpful. It's the most excellent 80s movie podcast on the Most Excellent Podcast Network. Man overboard.
Woman overboard.
And she's wearing an evening dress.
Oh, we're goofballs.
We are. We're the worst. Oh.